Well, that turned out perfectly. I was about to get worried that someone's computer was going to disconnect. But we're actually all good to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another day of the TING Open. If you enjoy any of the casting or the games you see today, do us a favor. You can repay us by going to bttv.ting.com. And why is my mouse scrolling? I have not played on Korea in God knows how long. Okay, that's weird. At any rate, spawning here on the lower left side, he is going to be the Yellow Terran player, KeeN.
In the top right, as the Blue Protoss, he is sOs.
Now again, sOs is a player who we invited, funnily enough, not based on these qualifiers. He didn't even get a chance to compete. Again, there's a lot of permission slips that the Koreans need to play in anything, even if it's online. That being said, he did play in our first season of Ting, gave us some really fun games, and if we're going to be honest, I do believe the Korean qualifiers were some of the worst qualifiers out of all the regions for this season. So it's really hard to actually pick players from this season's qualifiers. So we had to go back last season and look at some of the results over there as we do post invites for Ting, for those who don't know. sOs was a pretty easy choice, not just because you're like, oh, it's sOs, what a name, Rifkin. You guys are just name dropping like crazy for those views. But he was actually really fun to watch, and he was doing some silly, stupid, but wonderful things, like cannon rushing in this day and age.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, he was cannon rushing last season. Last season was February, March type deal. So it still was, an oddity. It wasn't like it was back in the heart of the swarm or anything like that. And well, yeah, he got sent down to the losers bracket, and then I think he just didn't play. A lot of Koreans just forfeited the losers bracket because they don't want to play it. And we did take that feedback and not, include a losers bracket, but the Koreans still, for the most part, didn't sign up. But anyway, complaints aside, it was fun. It was silly, and I don't know what sOS's plan is here, but maybe since it's not a qualifier, he won't be as silly. Maybe because he knows it's a group stage now, he's like, oh, I must be close to money.
I mean, there's some jokes to be made, but yeah, in sincerity, that may be a really large factor for those who don't know. sOS clearly has no idea about the format of this. He might not know there's a round of 16. He might not know whether he's in the round of 16 or round of 32. I'm actually unsure how much he knows going forward. Again, when the player joins the first lobby of the day and says, so how does this work? It's a little disconcerting, but all silly things aside, he's a good player you can easily find yourself putting faith into. And that's partially based on past results, but also just because I think KeeN is, again, a bit wonky. We're putting a lot of emphasis here on sOS, but like we said, KeeN, I think, is one of these players who really has the potential to be a phenomenal Terran. And we get to see it like once every few months. The real KeeN, I guess. But for the most part, he plays a little bit silly.
I mean, it's an interesting set of matches, too, because both matches are basically, how do I want to put this? They're like the Alima Leaguers, right? KeeN and Sulky versus the ones that have actually got into GSL or SSL are still in the GSL and SSL. Sulky didn't even get through the qualifiers. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking the same thing happened for KeeN. I didn't pay as much attention to him. I might be wrong about that though. But the point is, like, this is almost Hellions.
Ooh, he loses that one. That's gonna suck. You want those two shots, not just the one.
Yeah. But like this is almost like, foreigners going up against Koreans where, okay, maybe the skill isn't that big of a difference anymore, but the actual, like, what can our regular Alima Leaguers do when put up against, like, the supposedly big bad, like, GSL, champions?
Well, I do want to remind everybody as well, since we were talking about that, about the way this worked for qualifiers. Again, with the two invites and the two players who qualified through, it was Patience and KeeN who actually qualified into the groups and played through those qualifiers, and we got to see them play well enough to do such. sOS and Sulky were the ones invited.
Yeah. Yep. So, anyways, it's just like a interesting, I guess, little dynamic where I'm sure some people are gonna come into, like, specifically this matchup too. Like, maybe not so much this one, the next one, but definitely this one, and be like, what can KeeN do against sOS? And the question is, I actually don't know, but he's been on the up and up, and sOS is a question mark.
So he finds out it's a really sweet spot that's outside the range of the pylon. A little abusive, certainly. Nicely done on KeeN. I was going to mention, though, that let's not forget, Rogue was one of the players invited back. Oh, that doesn't actually reach that mineral line?
I know, right?
Rogue was one of the players invited back for Season 2 because of his results in Season 1. He actually won Season 1 after all. So
yeah.
What's nice to know is there's already one Zerg player in that round of 16 for the Korean groups. So it would be really interesting to see what is an eventual like SOS, Sulky, Rogue, and whoever from the other group type thing. Actually, I don't remember who finished second place and first place from that first Korean group.
Oh, that I don't remember.
Well, luckily we got the Wikipedia to go off of. Can look that up really quick. Just since this is a bit of a slower opening, guys. 2 bases out of KeeN, but not really because it's third, simply on the way. But the second place finalist for the Korean group was Super, and Alive was the one who got out first. So, Alive, Rogue, oh god, Alive, Rogue, SOS, and then either Super or Sulky I think would be a really ideal group for me.
And Sulky is not really on my list anymore. I hope he does really well today, because honestly he's been kind of disappointing lately. Like, I'm disappointed in you, Sulky. I don't know, he just hasn't had improvement. He's actually been getting worse, like losing earlier in the Alima leagues, and KeeN is actually sucking up all Sulky's old power and getting farther in the Alima leagues or
Like a
something.
vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, exactly. So I really hope he does well today. Maybe practices a little bit better for groups, for instance, and actually looks better, but whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
as we all know, Zerg can't win anything, so it doesn't matter anyways.
that's true, especially Korean Zergs. So,
Alright, SOS got to churn around some Warp Prism to depths right now, not really finding a way to get in there too easily. Bunker the backside out of KeeN was a really nice touch. A little bit paranoid, but definitely kept him safe in this situation.
Yeah.
I think seeing a lot more commonly those 2 missile turrets, but even then, you can still get some of the adepts unloaded off, which I guess he didn't want to deal with at all. Soccer push not going to be too problematic at all. We even have the Raven for just in case he's going to have that point defense drone. Constantly sending out 1 or 2 Marines at a time on the map. KeeN's been just kind of walking across with these very awkward scouts and not seeing too much. Didn't get to see the 4th, unfortunately, but he's seen a handful of stalkers. He's seen some sentries pushing out. He's got to be wondering what's up next. And I'm curious when he's going to finally like just suck it up and burn a scan.
Yeah. Well, SOS, I mean, he could have tried to break KeeN, as KeeN had, 1 or 2 important units, and is trying to get to a 3rd base. That could be a really tough time for the Terran player should SOS be going for like a lot of adepts, and a war prism, or a lot of blink stalkers and a war prism. But it looks like SOS, rather than trying to almost, all in and then behind set attack go for 1-1, just went for the 1-1 storm 4th base and is now looking to poke and prod, but it's probably too late now.
Well, this is kind of interesting because this is almost like fake pressure if he's relying on that storm, that is. If he saw an opening, I'm sure he'd take it, but without too much to follow us up, there's no way these adepts, I was gonna say, no way those adepts transfer through. He does get some into the main, though, through a Warp Prism. That's a little bit more risky. This is quite dedicated. He might lose a lot of these. Trading out well with the Marines. That +1 weapon upgrades is really nice, but as we can see, he's going to try and pick up and get out of there. Some do transfer over to the natural. Bit awkward, though, because the depots are down. It looks like KeeN will be able to hold this. Does not do too much damage. Natural base also going to be the case, but he pulled the SCVs immediately because his attention was split. So denies some mining, but ultimately not bad out of KeeN. Hasn't lost many units.
No, actually, this is turning into a bit of a waste for SOS. He's sending his adepts into the main. Unfortunately, the supply depots weren't raised.
Look at that army supply chunk down, by the way. Like, down to 40 there for a moment.
Exactly. Like, I mean, he could probably replace his adepts pretty quickly because he is on 4 bases, and let's see how many gateways. 11, probably going to increase that count as his 4th gets saturated and whatnot. But it is a risky little maneuver here if you're not trading out any army, and for the most part, he really isn't. I think like a handful of Marines that a counterattack could really maybe kill him.
Well, actually, in fairness, like 28 Marines have died over the course of the 25 adepts, but I think for me, one of the big things was that Warp Prism getting picked off ceased all future aggression, so this really did calm things down. He's got 4 Tempo inside this other Warp Prism, however, that's going to keep him safe from EMPs, shuffle them around the map a little bit faster as well. And this is always a cool touch, because you can kind of drop in the backside, maybe storm some SCVs, maybe catch the Marines off guard, but I gotta tell you, after watching yesterday in Nib, it was really nice watching KeeN just shut that adept attack down.
Yeah, well, it was really late, so it's like, I wonder what SOS was really hoping to get from that, and I think it was going to be like a couple more SCVs than he did, because he attacked in multiple places. You think one or the other they would have messed up, but not really the case for KeeN, and KeeN's looking rather good. I mean, the army supply is very good. SOS's upgrades are a little out of control on his way to 3-3, but that, I mean, the quality of his units are really good, but, bring an EMP in there, and maybe it kind of evens things up. KeeN is on his way to ghosts as I speak. This is a distraction for sure. We got 3 drops going off to the right side. Gonna be scouted by a pylon. A little unfortunate for KeeN.
Ah, this is cute. I like this idea because he's going to try and get the high ground with the rocks, use this for a bit, maybe, but
Clever.
as you mentioned, definitely this is a distraction. This is not KeeN's main force, and sOs has got to realize that. 4th base gets canceled immediately upon seeing those Marines come over, and now sOs has to pick and choose his battles pretty tough. There's a couple of cannons outlining the sides of the bases. I actually like this quite a bit. It'll make it hard for the medevacs to come in. Meanwhile, huge unload on the other side of the map. Adepts warp in like crazy. KeeN rushing back to his main base to try and defend it, but of course his Liberator's not sieged up. So a bit of a halt on his attacks over here while KeeN has to defend. Supply Depot going to go down, open the opportunity to kill some SCVs in the natural, but there's so much bio here. Cleaning this up shouldn't be too much of a task, well, unless he stops following.
Yeah, he was paying attention to his army. So this is the SCV kill count that sOs wanted with that initial attack. I mean, it really, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that many adepts, but they got into 2 locations and the SCVs like weren't pulled away. So still like 24 SCVs. The warp prism wasn't even cleaned up despite being kind of low.
That's kind of fun though. One of mine splashing down the observer. That was nice.
And now things are actually very scary for KeeN, who still has an army supply lead. Oh, bye.
Nicely done.
But, you know, he's only just got his 4th up, still doesn't have very good upgrades, and in fact will be at a severe disadvantage for like 30 seconds, and is now going to be out-teched by Tempests.
Yeah, this presents a really big problem. I will say that Tempests have made the matchup pretty different. The Tempest itself didn't really change its role in the game, but it's just so difficult to push in with bio through them. You're going to get caught with drops. EMPs don't really hurt them that badly as they have so many shields and so much health. It does feel like Marines were the better choice, ultimately. And, of course, having some EMPs put in there with the Ghost won't be too bad. But at the end of the day, like, the EMPs will not be able to touch these Templars as long as they're inside the Warp Prism. And that Warp Prism with those storms is going to be what keeps the Tempest alive. Liberators don't even stand a chance, especially with their damage having been nerfed versus armored. It's going to be tough for KeeN.
sOs, yeah, I was going to say, probably shouldn't be taking a fight. I mean, first of all, there's only 1 Tempest.
Oh, kill.
Cancel. And second of all, he has a lot of supply to still, you know, make up. KeeN's basically maxed out. sOs isn't. His storms are what he's relying on.
Those feedbacks, though.
Ah, pick up.
Let me give you some caster feedback. That was brutal.
Oh, you pick up. Okay. Okay, wow, quad drops going out.
This is really bold following this up, but I guess he's really hoping that with his Liberator count and that Planetary Fortress, any sort of push would be too dangerous for sOs to commit to. Problem is, though, as he moves across the map, do these have enough energy to be feedbacked? No. Okay, so they're safe for now, sort of. Warp Prism's not going to see it anyways, because if he did, he could have unloaded and tried to catch him. He's actually going to be sending these... Where's he rallied this to? Alright, he's looking for some storm drops towards the Planetary by the looks of it.
Yeah. sOs's 5th might be canceled again. I mean, I think at this rate, it's definitely going to be killed. 4 drops, unload, and there's nothing over here. Scouts this.
I mean,
but sOs could just push in after seeing it.
That's kind of funny. There's nothing actually left in the main, man. Knowing this, I mean, it's the timing of the game, right? There's going to be a lot of SCVs on 1 mineral patch or no SCVs at all. So these storm drops... Oh, sorry, excuse me, not storm drops. Those are adepts. Actually won't get too much done. But they will get some damage in that main. Meanwhile, 5th base, once again, is definitely going to have to be taken down. Another attack up here to the north. Going to look to poke off some probes from that high ground. Denying a little bit of gas. Not too bad. 4 drops, though. Got to run away from those Tempests.
Could be very careful. You believe there are High Templars with the main army, too, so...
Alright, so...
Adepts still causing a little bit of mayhem.
Yeah. Those drops got out alive. Barely on one of them. Vikings were made, so this Warp Prism should be dealt with. Carriers up next are really intriguing. We from the beta, know how powerful carriers can be when used correctly, especially versus Terran. And while I think in Days of the Old, like you could just kind of lull with Marines and take down interceptors, it's not really the case anymore, especially with the ability to dump them.
Yeah. Yeah, dumping interceptors actually really made carriers pretty good. But, I mean, I also got their AI changed and whatnot, so they have a lot of different reasons to why they're still not great, but a good addition to a mass air army, and that seems to be what sOs is going for. I mean, sOs has never had an army supply lead in this game. He's had upgrade leads for sure, but
I guess
he's just depending on tech to really send them through if fights ever go down.
That is the funny consequence of these attacks. So many SCVs have been killed that, of course, he's just rebuilt everything in army. And I was going to get some decent splash damage on the Tempest. Storm going to zone out much of this. Ghost looking for some EMPs on top of it if he can. Attack on the south side. KeeN splitting his opponent's forces. Probably his best bet to take any sort of fight. But of course, timing right now is on his side because those carriers still are not out in play yet. And even though those EMPs blanket most of that army, I don't know that KeeN's got enough to take this fight. Tempest barely remains scratched through this. Ground army goes not too badly for KeeN. Of course, he's still winning the south side while this goes on. But those carriers come out in a moment. There's not a lot of anti-air left.
Well, that is true. I mean, KeeN's going to have an easier time reinforcing with Mass Marine than the carriers are going to have. And
That's
carriers
true,
still have to build their interceptors, by the way.
I am astounded that KeeN made this work. That secondary attack from the south was so critical to this actually working. 3 Tempests out to back this up. There's storms with these carriers. He's actually not building interceptors. That's a small mistake.
This really was a very funny game from SOS. I mean, like, the accelerated tech here, yeah, I had multiple chances to lose him the game, and it might just have lost the game at the finale here.
There's still, I mean, there's still so many storms banked up for what could have been more damage, but it looks like the Templar get picked off as they get rallied to the front lines, kind of panicking. Carriers have no interceptors inside them whatsoever. SOS on the ropes, and even with this game having gone the way it did, KeeN will find a way.
Yeah. I mean, KeeN can't really, like, super reinforce, but Marines aren't that much of a problem on his limited income.
I think a really important factor in this, by the way, I love SOS's micro. He hasn't given up yet. He's still fighting to the last, but there's no more anti-air, so that's why these carriers will slowly but surely work. KeeN came into that fight with like an almost 180 army supply because of how low his SCV count was. That was pretty, I'd say, key to him actually taking a win like that. You can't fight 140, 150 supply and make it look like that. That extra 20 or 30 supply was entirely that southern attack.
Yeah. Yeah, SOS just never had a supply lead. I don't know what his reasoning is, to be honest, to go for straight to Tempests and carriers, because, I mean, he did so maybe to respond to KeeN's growing Liberator counts. Like, you don't want to have to deal with Liberators with only playing Stalkers, obviously, but it did feel just a tiniest bit too fast. Like, he was... Well, I'm not sure he was ever maxed out. He was close to it when the fight went down, but still, obviously, his armor supply didn't catch up.
I actually don't at all dislike his choice. I think it's just the fact that he got caught in that awkward timing. That's like watching Zerg get caught before kind of splitting's done, right? You're like, oh, okay, of course that looked brutal. But I think if you have the Tempest and the carriers out, and those had like all their interceptors and such, that would have been a very, very, very different fight. But desperate and definitely fighting to the last. Probes have been pulled to that front line, and they don't repair like SCVs, so you know that they're just a little bit of cannon fodder. So scared of these ghosts. EMP is so deadly to the composition of what's available.
Let's go back home. The probes were really funny. I mean, they honestly look like a misclick because he's not all-inning. He is trying to get a 5th base, but I mean, I guess he's only down to 1 base mining, and they would have been oversaturated anyway, so they kind of just probably box him on accident. It's like, oh, why not? But, you know, as storms start replenishing, that's where this game could once again go in favor of SOS, like, assuming that the storms actually hit very, very well. But there are ghosts.
Dumps out the interceptors. I love that move. He was so worried about losing the carriers. It's not a bad choice at all. Archons at the front line. Won't get EMP'd. But there's enough buyout. Here comes some of those storms peppering it in.
There you go.
This is funny because KeeN still, he's going to win this fight, but so much of this army is almost dead, tattered and bruised. GG.
GG.
What a first game, ladies and gentlemen. KeeN will start off 1-0.
That's the West playing funny. Going to carriers. Oh.
I still like SOS's choice. I just think he got caught in an awkward time. What's the second map so I can cue this up?
Frozen Temple.
Alright. So yeah, we'll play a commercial break after this next game is done. Unless, again, I always try and do this and then somebody goes AFK, so fingers crossed. But plan yourselves a 2-minute break after this one, guys. But looks like everyone's good to go, and so am I. So without further ado, okay, we got TIG TV in here too. Perfect. Duh. Without further ado, alright, get in Frozen Temple. We'll see you guys here in just a moment. Alright, folks, welcome back to game number 2 for the TING Opens Korean Group number 2. Real quick, because I see some comments coming in from email already. If you guys do enjoy any co-op content, Zombie and I did record our attempt at the Vermilion problem yesterday after yesterday's stream, and we used some lower level heroes for it too that weren't even our main races. It was actually quite a bit of fun. I'd say check it out. This is, of course, going to be youtube.com/BaseTradeTV, where you will also be able to find VODs from this cast a little bit later. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, hey, how you doing? But spawning here on the bottom right side, he's up 1 point in this best of 5. It's going to be the yellow Terran player, KeeN.
In the top left as the blue Protoss, he is SOS.
So maybe some of that goes towards Dusk Towers, and maybe some of that aspect is purely just whatever, because SOS played a little bit different than normal. But I liked the macro aspect of that, because it didn't lead to this one really awkwardly long game that had just the worst climax of all time. Like, that was some pretty good drops on both sides, the Adept Warp Prisms. There was a lot of action leading up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it wasn't super passive.
I do wonder, though, like, not that I think it would have greatly affected the outcome of the game, but had SOS actually killed less workers and KeeN had a smaller army as a consequence, would he have been able to take that fight so well?
Probably not. I mean, that is a good point. It's a funny point to always bring up, but it's definitely a valid one.
It happens so rarely too that you'd be like, "Wow, I wish I didn't kill all those workers. Wow, I wish my harass wasn't so good."
Yeah, especially when SOS. I mean, he was on all of his tech. He was just barely not the carriers. Probably felt like if it was going to be an all-in situation, and for KeeN that could have been an all-in had it failed. You know, probably thought like he would be okay. I think like for me, the most frustrating part about that game is not SOS advancing tech a little too quickly, getting caught a little off guard. It was the lack of scouting off to the right side for his 5th base.
Yeah, like, that got canceled and killed multiple times. That was a big problem, I think.
There was no observer. The Warp Prism, I guess, you know, got a little unlucky not scouting one of those big drops. But the lack of an observer or a pylon was actually kind of shocking, because it's not like it's KeeN was doing something brand new. I guess KeeN was a little more. Oh, jeez. KeeN was a little more dedicated in his drops than other Terrans in the late game scenario.
Oh, if he gets this one on the high ground, oh, that's really gonna suck.
God.
I don't know why
dear.
KeeN would let that happen.
Well, you think about stopping the pylon first.
Yeah, this is where the SV pull is a little bit necessary. For those who don't know, by the way, if you get the bunker up and this goes down like this, I mean, first off, KeeN's going to lose a lot of income just killing the pylons. It's already kind of cost-effective out of SOS, but that bunker's not in range. Yeah, that bunker doesn't protect the high ground, so these pylons will do the same job as they would on the low ground, where they tear down those depots, they kill the reactor, and they open the wall up.
Oh, God.
I think he's really waiting for the Marines to get baited closer before he actually pops the overcharge, too, which is a really smart choice, in my opinion. So there we go. See, picks off one. Other one gets a little bit low. Mothership Core and the Adept just killing everything. This is... this is crazy.
It's kind of getting game over territory. You actually can't get that many Marines to take on the Mothership Core with the Photon Overcharges.
If we could be real about this, though, this is so much more SOS than that last game was, though.
Yeah, absolutely was. This is just, it's already like too much damage. SOS has a Nexus behind this.
Yeah, and he's also got that second Adept now on the front line, so the Reaper and Marine were like maybe a hope that he could bring this to some sort of conclusion, but as you pointed out, that Overcharge Camp's production is a few Marines out. 5's not bad, but he's already lost 18 workers. And I'm sorry, KeeN, you're not in a 3rd CC. Recovery off this doesn't seem likely. Mothership Core might go down. Pylons might even die, but he's still done the damage. He just scanned, too, to see that there's a natural base. As if it wasn't bad enough that he needed all the mules in the world. GG gets called, and after an abrupt game 2, SOS will tie up the series 1-1.
Alrighty then.
Well, guys, as we said, we're going to do a small break, 2 minutes, nothing longer. We'll see you guys for game 3 when we return. Alright, folks, game number 3. It's tied up 1-1 here for the TING Open Korean group, and this is still just the preliminary match. Quick reminder that the following series will be Sulky versus Patience. Winner of that versus the winner of this. Loser of that versus the loser of this. This is a WCS-style, GSL-style group, only difference being all best of 5s instead of best of 3s. And once more, if you guys are enjoying the action, make sure to hit up TING through bttv.ting.com if you live in the United States. Spawning here on the bottom right side, though, it's going to be the yellow Terran, KeeN, who I don't imagine will leave his depots down in any more games today.
The top left as the blue Protoss, he is SOS.
We got Bob 1001,000,088 or whatever his name is in chat saying, it's too early. West Coast viewers are left out. Tell me about it, man. But that's also why we do rebroadcasting. So you may awkwardly be hearing this later while we're rebroadcasting, but if it's currently 5:38 in the AM where you are, you're watching this live.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. Because it could be 5:38 a.m. somewhere where it's, you know, still not live.
Right, but he's talking West Coast.
Oh, you're talking specifically to him.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you talked broad for a second there, and then you reduced it.
The only broad I see is casting with me right now.
Not today.
Okay.
I'm done with you.
Yeah, I dealt with all that snark and silliness last night. I used up all 100% of my tolerance levels.
Exactly.
All right, command center comes down. Yes, it is off position, but that's the nice thing about this is Terran, you can kind of be like, I don't care about your shenanigans. I'll just lift it and reposition it later. We're going to Marines follow this up too. SCV gets a nice scout on the other side of the map, so KeeN's going to see that there's nothing really too much to worry about. I think at this point you're looking for missing pylons, you're looking for a later nexus. You're really hoping to see the fact that there'd be some indication that there's a proxy. But oh my god, Terran doing this again!
Terran! Slightly annoying. I guess the other benefit, besides, I mean, we went through this, like the Adept sometimes has to stay home, the Mothership Core has to stay home if you really want to be able to tear this down as fast as possible. If they're not getting a Mothership Core at all, you might also be able to scout that, and that's also, like, pretty big, right? Because that's actually what sOs is doing. He's keeping the Mothership Core going for a faster Twilight Council, and KeeN, you know, looking at his engineering bay, eventually will actually start blocking out minerals, just how long it's staying up. Is gonna be like, where's like something poking at it, like, you know, where's the Mothership Core? Where's that first Adept?
And we talked about that too. Like that's one of those nice indicators where you're like, okay, I guess that there is some sort of attack on the way. But as we can see, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. 5 Marines can easily hold off one Adept. Hell, 3 Marines can easily hold off one Adept. So, yeah, this is a little bit annoying as we see it's gonna mess with the income a bit. But what's interesting is he's still sitting on like way superior economy, so it's not too devastating.
Yeah, I mean, far more important than his economy being denied here. Still, I mean, actually, by the time this thing goes down, it'll be denied quite a bit of mining. It is about that build, the earlier Resonant Glaives, you know, the Warp Prism coming out here, and KeeN should be worried.
So Adept goes down in the middle of the map. That's just a little bit of scouting denied. It's nice they got it for free, however.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot more gateways now. This is officially an all-in.
Yeah. Oh boy. The thing for KeeN though is like, you know, this isn't like Zerg where you're just like, okay, just simply stop making larvae so you have units to fight with. He's actually got production, but he's limited because he doesn't have a bunch of reactors. He didn't go for 3 racks opening specifically. So if this was like a Viking and a Liberator, if he was able to deal with that Warp Prism, then he wouldn't have to worry about the Gateway Adepts. But right now, I don't think KeeN actually has the tools available to deal with this. And while this Widowmine drop is certainly cute, this may have been better off used at home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
like a pyro from Team Fortress. Hada, 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 hada.
I understand that reference. That medevac would have been better off actually scouting the War Prism, if only it could. As KeeN, I don't know he thinks that it's an all-in yet. He has 1 bunker at the front. I mean, that's usual. I mean, I expect a bunker in the main. I would have expected, you know, maybe not a 3rd CC, because this is going to be very hard to hold. But he's just doing what he wants. It's not going to be a lot.
If the Liberator was sieged up, there's like a lot of what-ifs for this. The Marine count isn't too terrible, but this is something that's going to be very difficult to deal with. I love that he's focus firing. This is actually huge when it comes to stopping these Adepts. This first wave, somewhat manageable. Other side of the map, SCVs get pulled into the natural base, but of course, it's not about this first wave of Adepts. It's about the 2nd and the 3rd, and 7 at a time. It's not going to be easy to deal with. He has dealt with this first set very well, though, I must say.
Yeah. Liberator does have a tough choice every single time. Like, the Warp Prism could slowly be chipped away, of course very slowly with the Liberator, but it could also be helping with just 1 or 2 Adepts. That Widowmine gets a pretty good shot.
Yeah, he pulled the SCVs back at the very last second, realizing splash damage on his own units could be devastating, but now with the tank out, this is looking a lot more manageable. Still, 8 workers going down, this could snowball very quickly if he's not careful.
It was a little dangerous to siege a tank up like that, of course, because you can't pick it up until it's fully sieged.
I actually really like the unsieged version of this because it attacks much quicker.
Yeah. If the adepts are really bulked up, I think the siege tank is pretty good. But as you can see, they're starting to not. Well, okay, now they're bulking up, but they weren't bulked up, for a second there, and that's when the unsiege tank could look a little better.
Yeah. Oh, this also went from 8 to 28 workers killed pretty quickly. Looks like the War Prism finally having been removed from play, but this is still. I guess they're caged in the main temporarily. They can't really get down, transfer through that. Tank's going to try and chip away at them, but 26 SCVs on the back end of this. If that third CC was complete, and if this was already turning into an orbital, I'd say KeeN's in a fine spot, but he's really not.
At least KeeN got the Warp Prism, because this could have been his natural also dying. The other warping goes to the natural for sure, and he just boots him straight up.
Finish the command center, man. You gotta.
Well, he might think that it's over, but it's not over yet.
It's not. Round 2's on the way.
Yeah, and this doesn't have to be as all-in-y as the first. This could be pick-up micro on the natural. It could still be suicides in the natural too. Like, don't get me wrong, but SOS has a couple of options now that there aren't a lot of units. You can go into the main, you can go into the natural. There's really not enough units to cover both. And you can still pick up and leave. Warp Prism speed and just Liberators not being very good against sickle targets.
Yep. This is really unfortunate for KeeN. He could definitely deal with one consolidated attack, but that's the aspect of those adepts waiting to transfer into the natural base. So Liberator going to siege up, trying to do what it can. These SCVs are not even being looked after. Oh gosh, they're all dead.
Yeah.
And so is likely KeeN.
Right now, if he could clean everything up, even if he gets maybe 6 more SCV kills, KeeN might be able to come back. He's got Sim on the way, he's got a third CC, but anything more than that and he would just be dead, and I guess he assumed there was going to be more SCV kills. Because he just doesn't have a lot of units. No attacking units. So
GG, SOS will now take a nice 2-1 lead here in the series.
KeeN's feeling very frustrated. I won a macro game and they're cheesing me.
Yeah, right. That's kind of how I suspect too. But I guess that's the danger of winning one of the games early. This is where you intentionally lose one of the games. But KeeN says he needs to wait 5 minutes, so probably wants to gather his thoughts. KeeN says, "Oops, wrong chat." He needs 5 minutes. Rip. All right. Well, we'll take a little bit of a longer break then, guys. Hopefully, shouldn't be too long. We'll go as soon as he's back. Hopefully it won't be like a full 5 minutes, but we'll give him a few minutes to collect his thoughts, and I don't know. We'll see you guys soon. All right, that timed out better than expected, but here we are. Welcome back. Wait, I turned the sounds back on already. It's too good for my own good. It is game number 4 and possibly the deciding match in the series. He's really got to bring it back. In the bottom left, we've got the Yellow Terran KeeN.
In the bottom right, as the Blue Protoss, he is SOS.
Okay, so SOS lost the macro game. Ends up cheesing the follow-up too. This could be something you roll your eyes at. This could be something you really respect depending on your point of view as are you Protoss or not in the audience. What I like to see though is that it's not like KeeN's only on King Sejong, excuse me. Frozen Temple did he really get caught off guard, I feel. Frozen Temple, he almost had that defense. And while that does look silly, once you get ahead as a Terran player, it's really hard for the Protoss to continue an all-in like that and make it work. So I thought, there's like that small glimmer of hope where I was like, okay, he's going to show us how to defend, but unfortunately not the case. Leading us here to what is match point?
That's what a depth all-in's tricky. Never the first or second round that really gets you, it's the third.
That's true. I'm actually, obliged to swap to Protoss. I'm just saying it would be perfect for his playstyle. But one of the things about that, though, that's really interesting to watch is Protoss really are ways their design. Their units cost more, they take longer to build, etc. So they should be stronger. And I think that's what's really tilted-deuced about watching that, right? You're like, okay, this unit looks too good. But yeah, when you're warping in 7 at a time, of course it's going to look good.
Yeah, of course.
I'm never going to try and defend the Adept in terms of balance. There's so many things I've hated about it since its inception. But I wanted, rather than whine about that, just wonder, again, in this hypothetical butterfly effect world, what if the Herc was around?
What would that change?
It would be able to get on top of them a lot easier than the Marines and Marauders would. I think one of the problems you have is, chasing around the transfers, right? I'm not saying that's the one problem, but I'm just curious, would closing that gap and having these tankier early game units be enough to stop them from getting out of hand?
I mean, I guess they were tankier. It's really hard to remember what the Herc even did besides grapple and jump, which I guess that's what you mean by getting to the depths faster. But
could also splash with that upgrade, which was really nice.
Okay, but considering that they probably wouldn't have the upgrade unless it was like very popular, they did like quick upgrade builds, which I don't know if it really would have been.
Again, with the engineering one.
I think it's just the problem with adept all-ins is usually just you don't have enough units, like regardless of what type of unit you have, to split evenly. So like a bunker usually comes down to reinforce, and maybe the extra Herc like health or whatever would have helped. I don't know, but the Herc was an interesting idea. I don't mind that they got rid of it. I minded that replaced it with such a, in my opinion,
Liberator,
not conducive unit. Like Liberator has its role obviously, but it just didn't feel like it was really necessary as opposed to other ideas they could have had.
Yeah, what kills me most about the Liberator concept too is just this idea of like, okay, the Herc overlaps in ability with the Hellbat, which I still don't agree that it did. So like, let's remove it for something that's like, whatever, Liberator. I just really think there's someone at Blizzard that's like, no, Terran should never have melee units, and whoever let this get into the beta is a moron. Like,
there are some people that will strongly agree with that person at Blizzard too. Like, I am not entirely opposed to changing the idea of Terran always being ranged,
well,
but some
like,
people really are.
They have the Nova mission. She picks up a laser sword. I'm like, can we get that on Ghosts as an option in like real game? Oracle, by the way, gonna catch these Marines. Not numerous enough to deal with them. Widowmine comes out, but as we see, the other set of Marines would have unfortunately been enough. Just this first group gets caught slightly off guard. Also 4 kills of SCVs, but also another 4 through Marines, so not bad.
No, not bad at all. SOS, he's breaking down those rocks, but he's also using KeeN's obvious defensive strategy as an excuse to get a very, very quick third base.
Yep.
It's not that it's already looking bad, it just kind of sucks as a Terran, you kind of have to give that up. I mean, he could go for his own really quick third right now. He has enough minerals for it, but usually there is some aggression first from the Terran.
I mean, it was just on King Sejong with a third unfinished forever. He may feel too scarred to try that again.
I'm scarred, I'm forever scarred. I'm just going to put them on location. That's going to be prime the hate territory for the Oracle and the Phoenix to try and just keep lifting those SCVs. One Widowmine will take care of one Oracle. It'll maybe scare the Phoenixes away, but it's only one.
Yeah. Depth's been working away this forever. Oh my god. I didn't realize how bad they are at knocking down rocks.
Very bad. Yeah. Yeah, KeeN has his upgrades on the way, but SOS also about to start his own upgrades and a lot of production. Of course, he's winning in the probe war and in the income graph too, despite those mules. And things are chugging along into a macro game. Maybe this is where KeeN feels comfortable again, since that's the game he took. SOS isn't cheesing him right now.
I feel like there's definitely some degree of an asterisk there, though, because he's already noted that there's a Stargate in play. He knows this will be a different format for it. And where KeeN, I think, really did do well in that macro game on Dust Towers was a lot of the dropping. And if there's Phoenix policing the edges of the map, dropping not likely an option. He cleverly placed this Widowmine here a very long time ago, anticipating that would be the path back for the Oracle, by the way. So not only is that a good pick off to stop the harass, it was a great denial of future scouting.
Yeah. The Phoenix count, though, could still go in here and pick it up, but it looks like he's hiding them for now into the most common drop path possible. But KeeN's taken the uncommon path to the north, and the Phoenixes won't be here to help. They can't even lift the Widowmine unless they move to the north right now, which... yeah, no, they just stop. They just stay.
Well, drop for drop. Adepts in the main going to be a real pain in the butt. Observer gets picked off. That's kind of nice, but it already saw that there wasn't a lot of defense, so SOS may still just fully dedicate to this. He will have to look elsewhere for the moment. 2 Widowmines going to go down. This will cause those probes to scatter. Picks up trying to... He really didn't want that going off on the Adepts by the looks of things, unfortunately. There we go. Tries to stop that once again. Longer he can deny mining, the better, of course, and the more damage he can get through those Widowmines, the better, but only a couple go down. Phoenixes are here ready to escort. Just waiting to see with SOS having now no longer time to, or no necessity to pay attention over here. I feel dedicated to this, but looks like not going to be the case.
Yeah, I guess he didn't like what he saw, which was any units in the main base. They've moved, though, so now would be a fine opportunity.
This may actually just be waiting. Get these adepts to knock down this wall, start putting some fake pressure out here so that KeeN's looking at the front, but nope. Never mind. Just goes into the main, was a little bit delayed, so catches the armory before it's finished. This might just screw with his upgrades, as 2-2 would have been started pretty quickly for KeeN otherwise.
Yeah, and sOs would have fallen behind pretty drastically on those upgrades with only one forge and only halfway done. The drops going to the right side are going to be met by an army, it looks like, so they shouldn't do too much damage.
Chrono Boost, Navigo, please.
Yeah, Chrono Boost is that good.
No, it's not. I'm just teasing, but Guardian Shield goes down. This will help reduce a lot of the damage. KeeN says, screw it. I wasn't even fully unloaded anyways. I didn't want to come to this party anyway. Big Adept Warping on the other side of the map. He brings those drops back. Unfortunate on timing. Widowmine gets a decent hit, but this Warp Prism needs to be focused down for future Warp-ins.
Yeah, that would have been a nice hit, a snipe, but doesn't happen, so he's always going to worry about that. And the next Adept Warp-ins will have that +1. Turn those Marines a little bit easier. Blink is on the way to round out sOs's main composition. He's actually got a second forge too, as he realizes maybe I'm in a pretty good position. Maybe he can actually afford double forge. The Phoenixes have not really done a whole lot yet.
No, I was really expecting them to be a lot more medevac snipey, I guess.
Yeah.
This also isn't even following up into Colossus or anything quite so strange. It's just useless Phoenix for the time being, I guess. Picking up Widowmines might not be bad later. Of course, picking up medevacs in the mid-game, late game becomes less problematic because you'll have production as Terran to replace that. But big warp in on the big attack coming in for the front. Now, KeeN he still doesn't see this, but he might be able to bring the army back in from the other side of the map and try and do some sort of pincer move. But it's worth noting that sOs really does have the supply lead here. So much of KeeN's army is off in the top right, not ready to fight this army. And he gets caught out here. There's no medevacs. There's nothing to save him. He's going to lose these Marauders and Marines. So desperately needed the Marauders over anything else.
That is tough. Widowmine got a pretty decent hit too on those Stalkers, but loses half of his army, doesn't trade even at all.
Not yet, at least. He's going to look to. A lot of pylons over here. Might catch the Mothership Core on the way in, too.
Yeah. A couple of depths, and they do have those upgrades. But the main attack, I don't know if KeeN can ever deal with that.
Widowmine just splashed most of his Marines, so that's going to be the end of that attack. And I think KeeN, sadly, is looking at death. Right in the face. 102 army supply for sOs coming in against KeeN's barely 70. And I mean, KeeN doesn't have a bunch of Liberators. He doesn't have a ton of siege tanks on the high ground. So a lot of very weak, flimsy Marines and medevacs.
Yep. Looks like sOs is a little unsure about how he's going to engage here. He could just deny the third base and actually a bit of production as well, but he could also definitely go for the jugular here and kill KeeN with this big army supply lead. Okay, snipes the observer, so his Widowmine gets maybe another extra hit, but there's really not that many Widowmines.
Even if there were, still might not be enough, funny enough.
Liberators complicate things a little bit. It's gonna be hard to snipe.
That's true. There's no blink, but that's where those Phoenixes might just... Or there's blink, excuse me. But that's where the Phoenixes might come into play, just kind of chipping away at them on the side. Marines trying to focus them down, then they're not shooting the adepts or anything.
sOs is waiting for 2-2. He does deny the third base, so KeeN's already in a pretty bad position.
These are empty
But by waiting for his own 2-2, KeeN gets his... So, that isn't really working out.
I'm not sure what these medevacs are intended to do. Oh, they're just taking the long way home so they don't get picked off. Okay. Barracks and Command Center floats away, so he does manage to save the base, but did lose all the workers here. He saved a couple, but I mean, for the most part, KeeN, 43 workers, 2 bases, nothing really going well for him right now.
No. I mean, sOs still doesn't want to take a fight, apparently, but he can just... Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to. He can just turtle... Or contain, rather. KeeN on 2 bases.
Marine does a nice job canceling the base. Probe gets picked off, but of course this other one just gets plopped down instead. Both players just kind of taking somewhat hidden bases. A little bit cute, a little bit funny to see.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he let that transfer go off. Yeah, that was definitely a mistake. I'm not sure where he was looking or what he was looking at. That was a nice little shave off, and now KeeN's got an army supply lead. But again, like an army supply lead doesn't guarantee him a whole hell of a lot. He did lose that third. He's dropping some mules up here. A couple SCVs getting built. Barracks in the middle of the map are awkward as heck to see, but Big fight comes down, positions the Liberators, but the Stalkers blink off to the south, getting outside of range of most of them, trying to focus fire this down. Phoenix is shooting in the air, but looks like the Immortals and the Stalkers might just be a little too much. Well, hold that thought, actually, because the Liberators go down, but there's not a lot of army that can still contest those Marauders. If the Adepts were here, this would be a different story, so warping those in, but the Warp Prism gets denied. KeeN finds a way to take a pretty good fight, still down in supply, but not dead yet.
No, he's not dead, and SOS does need to start reinforcing back at home. He doesn't want to be snowballed here.
Thank God for concussive shells.
Yeah. That's actually a very worrying point right now. SOS, he's going to have to even maybe think about giving up his third or major structures to get a bigger army.
The sickest maybe comeback. KeeN with a 71 army supply lead now. I mean, this is about a bio that you really need storms or just some sort of splash damage to contest. Straight up Adepts aren't going to cut it, not this late into the game. Let's not forget 3-3 did begin, and while KeeN doesn't necessarily have the time to get it finished here and now, if they trade out evenly for the next few minutes, he will take a lead through those upgrades. Downside is he doesn't know about this base. That would be a freebie, and that would be a pretty important freebie at that. But Overcharge is going to get popped. Widowmine sets down. KeeN feeling a little bit more pressure to force a fight here than necessary. Mothership Core goes down. Only one pylon with Overcharge, but he's going to start trying to stutter away from this. So this Adepts might look to be a little bit fragile. With the Marines going down, they're losing the damage, and the Marauders, while they're tanky, aren't going to kill anything here. Picking up and running away might be KeeN's best bet.
Yeah. Of course, KeeN's army supply has a lot in those medevacs, which certainly help. I mean, every single unit was getting healed, and that's pretty big, but it does mean that once their ground army's done, like, it was deceiving, basically. Unloads and runs away.
Does he have more army to fall back? He's got a huge army to fall back to. I'm not sure why he's not bringing it to the front line. F2 it, KeeN. F2 it, get to it.
F2. No matter how good you are otherwise. Very important that SOS was able to deny mining on what was going to be a hidden base. Of course, the third is now back down with the main command center, but still, that was a big reason why KeeN was doing all right as well. Finds a production, too. It wasn't a lot of production, only 3 Marines at a time.
It's a lot of bio, though. Getting those medevacs would be really nice. Let's not forget 3-3's on the verge of finishing up. Of course, armor finished up for SOS, but, man, Guardian Shield's necessary, but not here.
Yeah, I was going to say he could force field and run, but then he just force fields a little awkwardly and takes the fight regardless.
Oh my God, is KeeN really doing this? I thought he was down and out, and I counted him out of the game, Zombie Grove.
He's not done it yet, but this isn't the first time we've seen a Terran come back because the Protoss, well, gets a little complacent on the tech they have. Thinks they got like a huge lead, thinks that they're containing the opponent too much.
He's looking for the extra bases. He suspects something's up. This has just been dropping mules. It's not really mining much for the time being. It's all that third base. So I guess income wars-wise, not looking too great for either, but way better for SOS.
3-3 has finished up for KeeN here. That's pretty big. Warp Prism coming in can now micro, but also be a threat to any of his, main or natural.
Well, you can try microing all day. That stop on a dime stim was pretty nice. Picks off some of those stalkers. Continue to run away with the medevacs. Waiting for those reinforcements. Wants to fight with the full might of his army. Guardian Shield gets popped this time. Some focus fire absolutely necessary. That's reducing a lot of damage. That's 3 armor plus the Guardian Shield. You can't let that go off like that. Marauders being shredded by these Immortals. And looks like as much as I was hoping for KeeN to bring this back, SOS is once again taking control of the game.
Yeah. Almost sniped that Warp Prism. That could have really helped too, but he also really wanted SOS to make a mistake and blink forward, and unfortunately it didn't happen. These trades are always fairly close, but remember that KeeN has denied mining once again on his 4th base. He's only mining off of 1 officially now, so this is the last of his army, even if it takes a good fight.
I just want to point out, their armies have been trading out evenly this whole way down, like 66 to 69, 49 to 47. Like, this has been just a real slugfest, both players just punching each other back and forth. I don't know what to say. Like, KeeN, this is like the 5th time I've expected him just to die.
Yeah. If he could get a drop in somewhere, same as, if SOS could get a harassment in somewhere, then this game could turn around.
Natural going to float over to the 4th base in a moment, and if his economy can recover enough, he'll be not too bad off for it. That 3rd command center, burning, not dead, was driven off of that base to the north. Now, I guess, has he still not seen that base way up here? No, he hasn't, gosh.
No, he found this base once again, but he's going to try and drop it. A drop into the main as well could really spread SOS apart. KeeN actually chanceling that command center means SOS does not find a base to harass.
I'm curious how much he wants to actually fight SOS apart, though, because at the same time, he was spreading himself pretty thin. Whereas in
Yeah.
other games, you've got 13 Marines on production, 4 Marauders at a time. Like, it's not an issue, right? But this drop's going to be really
Pretty
nice.
good.
Picks off some of the probes. Should be able to focus on this Nexus. Again, this is not Protoss don't get building armor, so this will go down pretty quick to these Marines.
Yeah. The
unless
medevac's is going to go down.
Yeah, chooses to just trade and trade out the best he can. Not going to work out too hot for him. But he did pick off like 4 probes, and not the worst trade in the world. Sell big
No.
ball over here. Liberators finally coming back into fashion. That could be interesting to see. There has been a lot of emphasis on Adepts and Immortals and a lot less on Stalkers. The only reason SOS took such a great fight in that first engagement of the day was like he slammed it hard with those Blink Stalkers.
Thanks to Funny55 for the 6-month resub.
Oh, I'm not
People are
getting sounds
trickling
again
in
today.
after the GSL.
Damn it already.
Adept harassment on that third base, main command center, you know, whatever it is officially, I don't even know. But point is, and I'm mining, and a KeeN, he was on like 24 SCVs that was saturating one base. I guess 19 still does a good enough job on only minerals, which is what KeeN needs, as he definitely has enough gas. But it's like, okay, 19 SCVs is pretty damn low. He does want to have, you know, 1.5 bases mining compared to SOS's still pretty full 2 bases. Include that secret one.
I actually prefer the Liberators weren't sieged up going into this so you could siege them up in a proper position, but setting them up on the ramp was not a bad alternative.
Yeah, if only he had more.
Oh, I love this. I love this. He's
Yeah,
going to
there
go
you
for production. This is actually, well, okay, it sort of does. Yeah, I guess you get distracted over here with his War Prism, but if he gets to that main base and depowers all the gateways, one thing SOS has had really going for him is, like, production. I just realized, though, his gas is dead. He's got, like, no income for gas whatsoever. He's only just now taking these assimilators, realizing that himself. So, a little bit awkward. But yeah, as he gets towards the main, that's the Robo, maybe. Okay, that's the gateway production. But, oh, no, he's going to get caught from behind.
Still going through a choke, and the bio could run back to.
It does. It does.
Rest,
And it looks
there
like
you
he'll
go.
try to respond to this. KeeN's army supply is not looking too bad. Focuses down some of these Immortals right off the bat. One goes down. No Guardian Shields. This might just do it. KeeN may have just found a way to take a victory, but Zealot's warping from behind. They don't have charge. It's the only thing he can afford, though, without gas.
Yeah, exactly. And he has a ton of minerals. It would feel terrible to lose.
He's
a
done
game
it. I
with
think
so many
KeeN's done it.
minerals. Yeah, KeeN, he's probably has. SOS needs more Immortals here to take down the Marauder supply. He needs maybe a couple overcharges. He has economy, but he just doesn't have enough bulked up.
Well, I don't know. It's like economy asterisk. He doesn't have. His gas income just doesn't make this really work. But KeeN's also out of gas. But either way, you're right. Like the snowball effect's very much real. GG gets called, and we're gonna go to an ace match. KeeN versus SOS, game number 5.
Oof.
KeeN, by the way, has shown us he is not going to go down to cheese. I love it. I love it. We'll see what the 5th game presents. Before we go to a break here, what's the map going to be?
Frost.
Frost. Okay, so get your clips ready, guys. Exclamation mark clips. Get in on that contest. Today's the last day for it, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, guys, we're back, and we're in the lobby for Frost. Just waiting to take TV. I'm not sure what's going on with them. They've timed out of like 4 lobby invites, but as soon as they're in the lobby, we'll get going with this final match. Again, things tied up now 2-2, and it's all on the line for this. Because let's not forget, while there is a loser's path to go through, right? Like a loser's bracket in terms of double elimination for this GSL/WCS group style format, you still automatically concede to having to play that second place finals match versus Super. Even if you that's your best case scenario. So winning this preliminary match is a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know what's finally they're in.
All right. So Frost game number 5. Waiting on the players to tell us that they're ready, and we're gonna get going. SOS is locked in, and of course we don't have an intro for Frost. That's worth noting because I know this was asked way earlier and I forgot to answer it. I was thinking about it, but then like we said, we actually talked about the game for once. What the fuck? Someone asked about the map pool because we had mentioned changing it. Yes, in the round of 16, we're probably going to tweak it. With some official statements making it look like New Gettysburg and some other things will be joining the ladder for the next season. We certainly wouldn't mind getting ahead of it. It also would be really fun to see some of those maps. So Right now, the map pool is pretty standard, and it reflects that of the ladder, but we will be changing things most likely for that round of 16. Also, just to note, timing-wise, round of 16 and those second-place finals will all be taking place after Home Story Cup to avoid player conflicts with scheduling and whatnot, because we don't want them to have to stress. But, of course, we're also not going to ask them to try and pick and choose, because we'll lose that battle every time.
Yeah. Okay, guys, you can't go to Home Story Cup. Thanks.
I think for a lot of players, too, Home Story Cup isn't even about the money and the prizes so much as it is the experience. Home Story Cup is like a straight-up party.
Yep.
Okay, folks, game number 5 here for the TING Open. And once again, if you're living in the United States, TING may be for you. If you're on Wi-Fi all the time, their services will best benefit you for not using data all the time on your phone. So, bttv.ting.com. Check them out. Get that $25 in credit. Remember, our goal for this season is to get 40 people shopping with TING. And if we do, we'll have the option of a TING Season 3. But in the bottom left side, it's going to be the blue Protoss, SOS.
In the top left as the yellow Terran, he is KeeN.
Now it looks like over here there's a little bit of probe harass, nothing too crazy yet.
Always gotta be worried, they're just gonna throw down a bunch of pylons.
Yeah, I think that's always on the back of your mind, especially having had that happen once in the series. I can't say Frost really seems that conducive to it, but with the open space and very limited area to maneuver around, I think 2 pylons at the bottom of the ramp would be a huge danger.
Yeah, but that's not on SOS's things to do on this game. He did go for a Nexus after Gateway, so the submix were being pushed off so much means that if he does do a pylon, you know, shenanigans, it's not really a rush. It's, you know, it's a slow, which could catch KeeN off guard, you know, if he's going for tech. He still won't have a ton of units to deal with it, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be, well, that's a second probe. I don't know, that would have been really suspicious had it not turned back. There's already a proxy, a potential proxy probe, so why bring another one?
Yeah. It's kind of chilling for the time being. He did this last time, he laid in wait, but some debate and chat being spurred after that last series, and while I can't really touch too much on it because we might have action kicking up here, I just want to point out that there was a really good point dropped in chat where KeeN not having to rebuild any of those medevacs for that pretty much whole game was a pretty big deal. 100 minerals, 100 gas is nothing cheap, but looks like it's going down, Zombie Grub! Oh, no.
The militia will be able to get over here fairly quickly in these spawn positions. Reaper's going to be taken care of, no problem. And this could still be dangerous, but like I said, like it would have had to depend a little bit on KeeN going for
he let him up on the high ground again.
Is exactly what he's doing. Yeah, and he let him up on the high ground.
Like, for goodness sake, he does kill the probe. That's nice. That's going to limit how much this can really impact, but this should never have had any pylons up on the high ground at all. This will be cleaned up, though, by the looks of things. The mothership core won't be able to get the overcharge up here on the top side. Bottom one will still go off. This will be able to kill at least a pylon. I'm actually not sure if that's in range of the reactor. It is. God damn it.
It is so not. Look at that ring.
I know. I'm actually clicking on
sense.
it. It's like the thing barely touches it.
Yeah, of course, but that Liberator on that mineral patch doesn't touch it. Am I right? Anyway. I think the second probe might be on the... Nope, that's another drips. Okay, never mind.
All right, Cyclone comes out. Oh, okay. This would be kind of cool. But also, worth noting, I believe that since we learned earlier that this is an older patch, I think it's still got the broken cooldown. So this might be the 9-second cooldown on the Cyclone instead of the 4. That'll be kind of interesting to see if that'll be the case.
Well, this is it for the Adepts. You know, SOS is getting 2 supply depots, he got a reactor, and he definitely denied a little bit of mining on the natural, but didn't cause the game to end.
It is 9-second cooldown. That, by the way, guys, is not intended. It's not a buff I'm speaking of or referring to. It's a fix. Because the Cyclone is really janky. Oh, one more shot would have gotten it. But high ground vision denied. You can certainly pick away at that pylon. Mothership core getting that mineral. Only going to pick off a couple of SCVs. Adepts really not getting too out of hand. Looks like that will get cleaned up here. The Cyclone was a really nice choice, though, for the situation of what was presented. I actually really like that out of KeeN. And I don't know where I sit with SOS's damage on this. I mean, it was good damage. You killed some workers. KeeN's only on 27 after all, and 3rd CC's on the way.
I think he did enough. So besides the structures going down, which doesn't ever look that important, but the reactor, you know, obviously cuts into his production. There's enough SCVs. That was enough of, you know, delaying his starports. Of course, KeeN decided to go for a 3rd CC instead of directly to the starport, but that might have been because of the pressure. Basically, I think it messed KeeN up enough to be warranted in multiple different ways. All added up, probably looks still pretty good for SOS. Because SOS, he just messed KeeN up a little bit and is now coming at him with another all-in. And KeeN, might still be recovering both mentally and actually in the game to deal with Blink Stalkers.
So, I'm going to add a little bit of snark onto this answer, but someone in chat's asking how much money is Ting putting in for all this buzz? Well, it's in the title of this stream, so clearly you can't read. Let me audibly explain. $5,000 in prizing made possible by Ting last season as well. And the best part was they paid out pretty much that same week the tournament concluded. Blizzard, for example, still hasn't paid out for the map test contest, and that's been a couple of weeks already.
Ooh, awkward. Here comes the Stalker all in and KeeN. I don't think was anticipating this at all. He has no bunkers. He's trying to get his third CC on location.
Yeah, and Stim feels like it's forever away. In fact, I'm almost worried about it getting picked off. But Tank gets a nice shot initially. No medevacs to carry it around, though. Does go down. Cyclone's not a bad thing to have in this situation, but it's only going to take on one Stalker at a time, and that's a lot of Stalkers.
Yeah, it's also going to get focused right really quickly.
There we go. SCV's getting pulled into the front lines. Marine's going to stutter forward. Of course, Blink's going to make sure these Stalkers don't die to the Marines ever, unless SOS messes up. And yeah, just he doesn't have the tools for it. That's what it comes down to. Bunker being a
I don't think blinking in was very necessary. Okay, whatever. GG.
GG gets called, and SOS will advance to the winners portion of the group. Unfortunately, KeeN will fall to the losers. That being said, though, we're going to quickly, as quick as we can, get into this next series because we've had these guys on deck a little bit longer than expected. Sulky versus Patience. So, going to just quickly go off to some sponsored ad content. This is, of course, coming from Ting, and without them and without these commercials, this tournament wouldn't be possible. So, if you guys are enjoying the games, sit tight. Make sure to check out bttv.ting.com. And I guess the quick TLDR before we go into this ad break is Ting is a US mobile phone service. They're specifically benefiting people who use Wi-Fi all the time because they have really low rates and they don't lock you into a plan. So if you're using it, if you're between plans, they're great for you. If you just don't want to be locked into something in general, they're great for you. But the best part is, of course, they got nationwide coverage, which we'll go over with this commercial, and we'll see you guys soon.